but we will start right now. True to Jurong fashion, you got to listen first, then you can eat, okay? So, actually it works everywhere, but in particular in Singapore, I think. Now, just to make sure you are in the right place, this is firing up Lukewarm members. So if you're not there listening to, I'm feeling burnt out as a facilitator, that means you are perfectly fine, you're not burnt out at all today, you are full of energy and ready to commit for another 10 years, okay? I see people starting to want to get up and walk over already. Nah, just kidding. Okay, so firing up Lukewarm members. Now, a little disclaimer first. Now, this topic can be easy, it can also be very difficult. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, I do not have a magic bullet or some perfect solution that says that you do this, you ask the member to drink this cup of water, and that's it. He will be on fire. Okay, this is not what this session is all about. In fact, this session is going to be a lot more discussive, interactive, whereby we need to get many of your inputs. Okay, and what I'm trying to just provide is what we call a process or a thought process, a approach on how to possibly engage members who are lukewarm. Okay, so I always like to start out with some photos because it helps me to remember and to conjure up the memories when I first started my first small group together with John Larson. Some of you may remember I also showed this exactly almost 1 year ago. This was back in I think year 2000 or 1999, I think around that period. So the good thing is there are still some people who are there on the photo who is still in church. Okay, so in case you didn't realize, there's Andrew over there. Okay, on the far right, just behind Jeremy, and that was the first time where Jurong Church said, it says, you know what, shall we start a small group? And we said, okay. So that time, John Larson and myself, we said we'll take on that challenge, and we started it. Sorry, next slide. Yeah. All right, so these are just some of the same thing, and then the following years we had a few other people to join us, and basically it was lots of coming together, playing, relationship building, and obviously these are for the young youths. I mean the much younger ones, 13 years old to 15, 18, around the age group. So a lot of time spent just going out. This was at West Coast Park. It still exists in case you didn't know. Okay, and it was lots of fun. But a lot of things was focused. You realize one common thread that I will be talking about is relationships. Okay, so next slide. Thank you. Now very quickly, we're going to talk about lukewarm because it's interesting that I use the word lukewarm, and it's also very, very appropriate why we use the word lukewarm. So what is lukewarm? And then we'll go on how to fire up based on the 3 E's. This is something more of a simplified approach. Now, if for all those who are really interested in small groups, if you started from long time back, and that was where I was also trying to read up, there is authors like Carl George who are like church consultants. There's Bill Donahue that Mr. Ching mentioned that time from Willow Creek. Now you have Saddleback Church, very, very, progressive. You have Steve Gladden wrote books on purpose-driven small groups. Many books written on small groups, how to lead effective small groups, purpose-driven small groups, things like that. But at least for myself, it was very difficult to come across any book or any topic that says how to literally fire up a lukewarm member, or how do you convert, or how do you change somebody from lukewarm to passionate and on fire for God. It is really, really very, very difficult because it is subjective. It is very dependent on each and every individual. And so the approach that I'm going to use is contextualized. There is an approach, there is a thought process, but I need each and every one of you in your respective ministries, respective small groups, to process it and to apply it. And I think that's where we come together and have more what we call synergy and results. Okay, next slide. Lukewarm. Now, we all heard of the word in one way or another. Now, I'm going to ask this question. What is the temperature of lukewarm water? Anyone? Want to make a guess? Definitely not boiling, so it's not 100 degrees. It's definitely not 0. What is it? Room temperature. So what is room temperature? roughly? What is room temperature? Around there, so depending in maybe in Singapore context, they'll tell you maybe 30, 32, 28. In some maybe standard, I can't remember now, secondary school or primary school, what do they define? Maybe 25. But this is really room temperature water, which is perfectly fine when you drink it, I mean. But lukewarm, as it says there, it says it's moderately warm. It's scientifically, anyone can define it your way, but it says it's about 36.5 to 40.5 degrees. Okay, 36.5 to 40.5. So slightly warm. It's not warm where you really touch it and it's like, oh yeah, it's warm. And it's not super hot. Now the reason why this is very interesting is because if you really drink certain things at that temperature, it does really taste quite horrible. Okay? Because you don't purposely make tea, coffee, I'm sorry, I use tea and coffee examples, or water. If you purposely make that your cup of drink at that temperature, something is really wrong. Now, I brought this packet drink, not a very good example from the Seventh-day Adventist perspective, but it's milk tea. Okay, now this is room temperature. Now, milk tea, as you probably know, if it's cold, it's perfectly normal. If you like it hot, like hot milk tea, what you get, when you buy from a coffee shop, it's perfectly fine. But if I were to pass you a drink right now here and say, please drink it, okay, you will probably like, no, I don't think so. It doesn't taste very nice if it's just, and this is just room temperature. Okay, so lukewarm, we need to understand, when we say the second part, lacking conviction, half-hearted, are we really, we're not putting a judgment, please bear that in mind, but are we saying that the members that we are that we have are really half-hearted or very lacking conviction? If the answer is yes, then we need to figure out what is really causing that, more so than how to fix that. All right, it's a tendency for us to try to fix something before trying to understand something. Okay, next slide. So I just want to read this. This is from Revelation 3:15 to 16. I think we all are quite familiar. This is at the address to the church of Laodicea. It says, "I know all the things you do, that you are neither hot nor cold. I wish that you were one or the other. But since you are like lukewarm water, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth." Okay, it is that terrible that I will spit you out. In some translations, is I will vomit. Now, it's a very strong word, and the imagery is there. But the idea is that if we have lukewarm members, or we even recognize there are lukewarm members, then we really need to do something. I think that's the first premise. We need to recognize and we need to do something about it. Next slide. All right. So, like I said, the first exercise in your groups, hopefully you're already in your respective ministries and small groups. Very simple. You have a piece of paper in front of you, you have a pencil. Now, in the next 3 or 5 minutes, very quickly, this is not meant to be a thesis, but I want you, in your own, very quickly, whether as a group or as an individual, doesn't matter, as long as basically it's you're working on it. Identify members who you think or who you feel are lukewarm. Okay? Now, like I said, we're not casting judgment, so there's a difference here. We're not casting judgment, oh, this guy never come for don't know how many years, how many months, whatever. No. The idea is, in the name of grace, in the name of wanting to reach out to them, who are these members that you deem as lukewarm? So very quickly, in the next 3 minutes, just write it down, because we're going to follow up on these names in the next few exercises. There will be 4 exercises across this whole hour session. So this is the first one. Okay, so I'll give you about 3. I think 3 minutes should be more than enough. Let's go. Okay, so think of the possible reasons. You don't have to worry whether is it right or wrong, but if you think that there are 3 members in the cell group that you feel are lukewarm, that are not coming, that are a bit half-hearted, always giving reasons and excuses not to come, write those names down and just what could be the possible reasons why they're responding that way. Okay, that's all. Okay, Ken?
Very challenging exercise.
Only the first one.
But it's good.
Challenging? I thought it should be like, oh. I got a whole chunk. No, just kidding.
Sorry for complaining.
No, it's okay, it's good. I know.
Missing some things.
Okay, I understand such things happen.
I do not know where they disappeared to. We do charge here.
Okay.
Do you need that? We can call up Jessie the contact, right? Then she will send you back.
But he can help us pick up one is that the green pouch. Yeah, so like our extra mouse, our class,
Okay, you all right? Okay, we'll try to wrap up in 1 minute's time. I understand you may not have the whole list, doesn't matter, but it's to get that thought process going. Yeah? Okay, 5 minutes is up. So I know there's probably a lot of discussion going on, but we do need to move on. But just remember, you can always do this on your own. Just remember the process. Now I'm going to very quickly ask, just randomly from different tables, okay, how you thought about the process. Was it difficult? Was it easy? Do you have many names, or only you thought a whole 4 minutes, then finally you came up with only one name, whatever. We'll start from here, if you don't mind. Put you on the spot.
Sorry?
Any thoughts, anything about the process? Whether was it easy, was it very straightforward, or things like that?
You realize everyone is looking.
Okay, just say a few comments.
Hi,
Yep.
guys.
Yeah.
So I'm in this small group called SharePod, and my thoughts were that everyone is lukewarm.
Everyone's lukewarm. As in every member is lukewarm. Okay, all right. So how about from the Burmese side? Maybe just any comments? Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, we identify that almost all of us have the trace of lukewarmness. But I mean, we do identify, a few potential leaders which we
Yes.
tend to, want them to take the leadership role, but it's quite obvious that due to quite a number of reasons, they are not coming up, to take up those kind of leadership roles, and it seems like they are very obvious that kind of lukewarmness. So this is what we identify. So a few points that we can identify is how do we empower them to come up, become like a fire up. It's kind of a bit of quite difficult to justify. A few facts that we can find are like their work commitment. Mainly it's the work commitment.
Okay. Thank you, David. Anyone? We'll just do one more. Any table like to volunteer? Or be volunteered? All right. Wow, it's an all ladies table. Power packed, okay.
Okay, for women's cell, we roughly would put as 50% lukewarm.
Okay, 50%.
And the reason why is they have different needs.
Okay.
And wrong priority.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's about.
Okay, great, thank you. So different needs, priorities. So David here over mentioned about the empowering and the commitment level. And of course over here we had a very interesting comment. She felt that everyone was lukewarm in that sense. Now this is perfect. No? I did not sing this up with any one of you all. Okay, but this leads in perfectly to the next couple of slides, which talks about how do we need to start this, how do we need to understand where we are first. Okay, so next slide please, if you don't mind. Okay, so how to fire up members in their faith and mission. Now, this is not like I said, it's not a magic bullet, silver bullet, whatever formula. It's just an approach where I just want to use 3 E's. Envision, engage, empower. Okay, some of you probably already know this. So, in fact, a lot of the things that we are going through here is not like, wow, rocket science or like, wow, I never heard of it before. It's really a process. It's really a reinforcement of what we need to do, of Jesus' method, of what the Bible is telling us all the while. Okay, so envision, engage, empower. I will go into each of every one of them. Next slide. Now, apologize you can't really see. I just wanted to take a quick 1-2 minutes to make use of something that I thought was very interesting. Now, this is I'm sure some of you have seen this model before. It's called the AIDA model. It's used in the corporate world very commercially. It's called awareness, interest, desire, action. Now, if you just look at yourself. If you want to buy, let's say, a new phone, Apple phone, 15, whatever now, 16, okay, $1,000+. You don't just suddenly, if you don't know about a phone, you don't suddenly wake up in the morning and say, hey, I dreamt about Apple phone, I'm going to go buy it now. Okay, it doesn't happen because number one, there needs to be the awareness. You need to know what Apple phone is about. You need to know why it even exists and what is even used for. So that one, very simple, awareness. So what we just did just now, to some extent, is a bit of awareness. You need to be aware, okay? If you say that there is a lack of commitment, half-hearted, lukewarm, we need to be aware, okay? So it works both ways, okay? We need to be aware of ourselves, but we need to also understand whether the member, okay, that you're trying to reach out to is aware of their own situation or condition or not. Okay, so it works both ways. So as much as all of us are leaders and facilitators in a small group, but what some of you all said is true, because sometimes, even myself, we go through phases where we become lukewarm, we become half-hearted. And all my examples that I'm sharing, not all like, wow, very nice, rosy, perfect. Okay, because in the same way, I think, just to share, what was that? 2020, that was during the COVID time. So the family cell groups, we said that, hey, there's no way we can all meet in one big group. We used to try to meet everyone in a big room in church. You know, we try to get 10+, 15+ families all come together, and even then, it was very difficult to get all of them to come, especially when the kids needed to be taken care of. So COVID somehow gave us that opportunity to say, let's all move to Zoom, right? We have to move to Zoom. And so we intentionally broke the families into small groups, literally small groups. Each group only 3 or 4 families. And it worked well because partly it was Zoom, it was COVID, there was less work, so to speak, and people were more predictable in their timing. Now, long story short, that worked quite well for the Zoom, and then even later on when they relaxed it, we could meet in houses, but not more than 8 people or that kind of stuff, you know. But the fact of the matter is that we were able to meet quite regularly. Now, ironically, once all the measures were lifted, suddenly we have 4 family groups. I think only one now, which is Min Hui's group, is still going very strong, which is brilliant. Okay, kudos to that, to them, and of course, praise the Lord. But the other 3 groups somehow fizzle off because I would say, is an excuse, which is where I'm coming from, the negative example of being a bit lukewarm. And I think it's perfectly fine to be very open and transparent. We just couldn't find a time to meet up physically anymore because everyone was saying, oh, I'm busy, Saturday, so many things going on, Saturday night, oh, I've got something going on, Sunday, or worse still, I've got my own kids program, I've got I got whatever, tuition, CCA, and all that kind of stuff, and it was almost impossible. And week after, or month after month, when we tried to organize something, it just couldn't follow through. And guess what? In the end, it became the norm. So be it. We don't meet because we're already so busy on Saturday, and then with children and and depending how many children you have, hint, hint. So that makes it very, very difficult. Okay, but coming back to this, how do you stir up the interest? Okay, now of course the description there is a very commercial description. And this is kind of like Wendy Young is not here, but it will be a perfect link into her testimony yesterday, when her friends invited her. So of course there was awareness. And there was some interest because probably the friend was very close, kept asking her, but what it is says that interest has done some research and identified products that might solve their problems. So that's products, services. So she did her own research. She did and said, hey, Seventh-day Adventist Church. Okay, I come from Sunday Church. How about other Baptist Church, Methodist Church, whatever it is? Okay, and they have choices. It doesn't mean that if you're a good friend, if I ask you, please come and join my cell group, confirm you'll come. No, there is interest for sure. But that's where we need to push them to the next stage, which is the desire, which means the desire comes from the member themselves, internally. I'm not here to force you. I was reading some articles and it says there are certain things that you should never go to a member, whether it's a half-hearted member or a seeker. There are certain things you should not go up and say to them, and one of them is the word should. You should be in a small group. You should be coming every week. You should be part of this. You should be that. You should be that. Because if it's whether it's a member or a seeker, they say, why should I even be here? Right? You ask you back the question, why should I even be here? Why are you telling me I should? Unless you can figure out what is it that is bothering them or what are their needs, it's very hard for us to push them. So next slide. Envision. Now everything rises and falls on leadership. So this is a quote, very famous quote from John C. Maxwell, and it is true to a large extent. If we sitting here, I'm just giving an example, if we sitting here are all lukewarm, do you think we can get a member to be more passionate than us? Yes or no? No. Science itself already shows it. If you are at room temperature, whatever that is, 28, 32, is there any way that water, if you pour it to another cup of water, can cause the temperature to go up? No way. It can only be the same or less. Normal, logical science. If you yourself, we ourselves are lukewarm, there is no way we can bring up the passionate spirituality of someone else. It doesn't matter who that person is, because we ourselves are lukewarm. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we're all lukewarm, but what I'm saying is that we need to then address this first issue, which is everything rises and falls on leadership. So next couple of points, we can just bring out all 3 points. Okay, Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Okay, so we know very clearly we need to have vision. And it's good that as the 2 churches come together, and as we refine our small group vision, which is that small groups will be the vehicle, will be the channel for us to bring people in, to reach out to people, and it will be that avenue for them to be able to, that we can reach out to bring them in as part of the seeker pathway. Okay, so number 1 is we need to be all in sync and aligned. Number 2, clear and compelling picture of an ideal future. That's vision. Okay, somebody that comes out. I mean, if we use somebody very popular, let's say Steve Jobs, when he came out, and he came out with a vision of what Apple is, or what he wants Apple to be. I think there were some people who say crazy. Who wants a phone that doesn't have any buttons? Or at the time iPod looks nice, but there's no functions. Now, if in the Singapore context, for those people who know, many years back or decades back, there was this other company called Creative. You still remember that? Now, poster boy Sim Wong Hu at that time, okay, always being featured. Now, they were the first to come up with that MP3 player. That's right. All right, many functions, lots of functions. Now, it doesn't look coolest, but it's got lots of functions. But I think 1 year later or something like that, Apple came out with their version. Thinner, sleeker, looks very nice. But I can tell you, the number of functions that Apple had in that iPod or something, was far less than Creative in terms of function. But what happened? They were able to sell higher price. They were able to sell a lot more, and everybody literally coveted it. In that previous slide, they desired it. And because they desired it, there was the action that they want to buy it. Okay? It's simple as that. In that context, Steve Jobs casted the vision in everyone's mind, what Apple or what the products are going to be like. And until now, you still see that trend, right? You still see that design rationale through the phones, through the laptop, the MacBooks and all that. So coming back to this, leaders first, members follows, or members follow. Apologize. So leaders need to set the example. Leaders need to set the tone, the passionate spirituality. If we are lukewarm, there's no way we can get someone else in to be passionate. Okay, so we need to set the tone. Now, with that in mind, okay, everything rises and falls on leadership. We move to the next slide. This is where I just want you to spend the next 5 minutes also. A very simple exercise. Okay, in your own respective group, same thing. Come up with a clear and compelling vision of your specific small group. Now, I'm not asking you to come up with something that is wow, it's like a perfectly crafted statement, very nice, and wow, when you say it, people really want to join your group in a minute. No, that's not what I mean. I want you to be able to come up with something, just something basic, certain keywords, that if you right now were to ask a lukewarm member, okay, I'm not even asking you to test it on a seeker. There's a difference between a lukewarm member that is half-hearted in church and a seeker who's completely out there. So, come up with a statement or just some keywords. If a lukewarm member was sitting right here in front of you or at your table, how are you going to share? How are you going to describe why this cell group will be a compelling place for them to be in? Why this cell group or small group will have an impact that you want to desire to be in it. Okay? So let's start. 5 minutes. Don't have to be bombastic, don't have to be like wow, but it has to be something whereby it addresses the needs of the person. Okay? So don't say things like we organize a lot of events every day or every week. That's doing, that's programming, that's events. It has to be more than that. It has to address either because, maybe along the lines of community, along the lines of connection, along the lines of addressing the societal needs and pressure, whatever. But put it in your own words, because what makes sense for the youth may not make sense for the women's ministry. What makes sense for the families may not make sense for the young adults, example. Okay, so just like I said, don't be too bogged down by whether is it a perfect statement. Just come up with something that keywords or just a simple sentence statement that when you share with a friend or member, who is not very committed, it will stir up some interest in them. It will help them to rethink why they need to be part of a small group. Okay, just one more minute and we will wrap up. Hmm. Okay, well, we'll now quickly get some inputs, just some random inputs. Maybe, actually, we'll start from your group. Ooh, sorry about that. Okay, we'll start from this table right here. You know, maybe just a couple of points.
So our vision, I mean, we are from Mission Port.
Yep.
So our vision is knowing Christ together as a family.
Knowing Christ
Yeah.
together as a family. Any specifically specific reasons or significance on those
Yeah.
words?
Yes. So if you want to say this vision to a seeker,
Yeah.
we want to make them feel that we care for them as a family.
Okay.
So that should be a pulling factor,
Okay.
like where they are coming to.
Okay.
So they're going to be not just know Christ, but we're going
Yeah.
to do it together as a family, and we care for each other and we want to help each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Now, like I said, each of you will have your own differing, and it doesn't mean you have to come up with like the perfect statement. But basically, the idea I like that is the family, the togetherness, the being in a community. This table, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so for me is the young family small group.
Yep.
So it's just a very simple one, is to share and meet the needs of parents with young children.
Yep. Thank you. Now, this one for me, where I can perfectly understand. I still got a couple more years before I can exit out young with young children. But the point being is that, especially for mothers, when there is support, right? When there is support and there is also engagement with the children, the young children. When young children, actually the children is very easy, right? As long as the children all play together and they all can mingle and don't kill one another, okay, the moms are very happy, right? Because even if they have just 10, 15 minutes undisturbed time to be able to talk and discuss and whatever, it's good enough relief and therapy. And that itself is the vision, is the compelling picture that you share with people. And they say, yeah, it makes sense. And it's very true. The problem comes when the kids all start to grow older. Then you don't have that whatever platform anymore. And then the parents, okay, this is not from a church, but I have friends and colleagues, then they say, oh, then husband will look at the wife will look at husband, you don't know what to talk, don't know what to do. But okay, but that's a not so good example. Next one, anyone? Anyone? Just, oh, okay, over here, very enthusiastic, thank you. Just share any thoughts, anything that you all came up with.
Our vision is creating a genuine, real godly experiences from leaders and then providing support.
Okay, very good. Anyone just want to elaborate a little bit more on some of those words that you used?
Because we felt that our leaders are not very hot, so our vision is to like our leaders will have to get closer with God and
Yep.
also with each other. So we plan to do that through going to dinners together, also while sharing our devotion.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now we'll move on. Okay, to the next E, which is engage. Sorry, Sally, make you run around. Now, the vision is there. You guys have more than enough time. You know, there's no deadline, but you guys have more than enough time to work on it. But the idea is that if within, let's say, the youth or young adult, if there is a member, and the member were to hear from 3 different leaders about your vision of the cell group, about that compelling picture, is it the same or are they completely different? You know, some will say, oh, yeah, lah, cell group, like that, lah. You want to come, never mind. Or all of them are all on fire. Wow, you know, cell group has made an impact in my lives. You know, I really feel connected. There are people who support me. When I'm down, they pray for me. When I'm really having issues or difficulties, they don't just sit there, they actually come over and support me. Now, when somebody hears that, and that is not a vision statement, but that is an elaboration of your vision, people will feel, wow, okay, wow. Because ultimately, we are talking about relationships. And that's why we'll come to this one, engage. Disciples are made one relationship at a time. So this is a quote from, I forgot the guy's name, but he's the director for the Bana Group. So Bana Group is a very popular, leading US-based church consultancy group. And so I won't read everything, but it's understood. It basically says in 1 Corinthians 9, 20-23, to the Jews, I become like a Jew to win the Jews. So you have to bring yourself to the people. You don't just sit there. I mean, it's the same for business. You don't just sit there and wait for everyone to come to you. You have to go out to them. And you have to reach them in ways that would address their needs. You will reach them in ways that they will feel comfortable and is relevant. Okay? So, next slide. So, what are the 3 E's? So, what are the 3 R's that I have actually summarized under engage? Okay, so one is, I'll go through very quickly so that we have a bit more time to discuss. So, the first one is relationally. We need to engage these people relationally first and foremost. It's exactly like the Jesus method. If I do not relate to you, if I don't even know you, there's no way that I can convince you even to step into a small group or into a church for that matter. I need to be intentional in connecting with you. Now, there is a difference between whether you come out of excuse of, I'm extrovert, I'm introvert. Okay? My wife, Su Qin, always says, I'm an introvert, don't ask me to go and talk to people. But the fact of the matter, can you talk to people? Yes. In your workplace, do you talk to people? Yes. You know, if you're in a queue, somebody cuts you, do you tell them, excuse me, I'm here first? Yeah, you talk to people. Okay. So, fact of the matter is, we are all relational people. Okay, but it has to be intentional. You need to connect, and there are the community needs. No man is an island. Okay, it is true. You do not exist as an individual siloed from the rest of the world. So you need to first and foremost be able to relate relationally, build up that relationship, that friendship, and that connection. Then, next, you engage them relevantly, which is practical life needs. No, and there were some testimonies, you know, whether from Pastor Egan, from Wendy, and many others. When I know you well enough, and I start to share a little bit, and you start to, and I start to trust you, and I see that you are really trying to relate, and you're trying to help me, you know, relevantly through life needs. I mean, it's very touching, like what Pastor Egan has shared. You know, you talk about air flight, I mean, the air tickets, $2,000, people chip in. You know, talk about, you know, throwing a party for that member. You talk about how we don't just sit there, I'll pray for you, okay, from a distance, okay? But how do we help? How do we really, but sometimes, you know what? This is exactly what we go through. We struggle on our own because we ourselves might be feeling lukewarm. We myself say, I could do this, I should do this, but I cannot I just somehow not able to bring myself to do it because we are struggling internally ourselves, which goes back to the first point. Everything rises and falls on you, on us as a leader. So relevant, it has to be relevant. If it's not relevant in the same way that how Jesus met the needs of all the people in a relevant way, people will not respond. Yeah, people don't, there's this phrase, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is very important. Next one, I'm just using the word religiously, even though I don't really like the word, but just for the sake of having all R's there. So, engage them religiously. And it's a pun. And a pun in the sense that religiously meaning engage them on a spiritual note, on a religious note. Okay, don't first thing you see them, hey, are you a Christian now? Oh, you're not? Hey, you want to join me? Then they will straight away put off. Okay, so after you pretty much go through the first two, okay, and many of this will be concurrent. Okay, it doesn't be perfect like, wow, you're the best friend, and then after that, wow, you met all their needs, you give them money, you give them food, you give them bread or whatever, and then finally you talk about this. It doesn't work that way. It's kind of like overlapping, but what I'm saying is that the sequence is there. Don't jump straight to talking about spiritual stuff. Want to be a Bible, want to join Bible study when you have not actually addressed the first two. Okay, so next slide. Okay, now I'll jump this one first because we'll come back later so that we can finish up everything, then we can discuss. So we move on one next slide. Okay, empower, the last but not least, empower. Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, so in Ecclesiastes, basically it says that 2 is better than 1, and of course, a triple braided cord is not easily broken. So do this as a team. That is the premise of small group. Okay, and just now I think David mentioned, how do we empower the members? This is exactly what even I sometimes struggle with. Because when you form a small group, everyone's happy, maybe we mix them up a bit, we come up with a new curriculum, we change the venue, we bring in more food, everyone gets excited. But after a while, the excitement, the buzz can still fizzle off. But unless we empower every member in there, we empower the team, the whole small group as a team, it is very difficult for it to continue on and to be sustainable. Okay, so the next slide. Okay, so we need to empower them to serve. And I think yesterday it was mentioned, maybe it's Pastor Egan. So when we first started our small group that was like back in 2000, it was a very simple formula. We said, okay, let's say there's a group of 8 people. Okay, there'll be maybe two people who facilitate to do the leading, right, in the actual, cell group materials. One person will be the care person. I still remember a long time back, Oilin played a very perfect role. He's the care person, which means that anytime there's a new person that comes in, that person will straight away either write a card, send, or that time there wasn't really all the handphones and everything, so it was like either you send the snail mail, a card, say, hey, thanks for coming, he was glad you'll be here. So there was a person that was dedicated to caring, there was a person that was dedicated to hospitality. Every time they meet, they'll bring snacks, bring food. Okay, now this food doesn't have to be elaborate, but just tidbits, snacks, drinks, that's it. Then another person could be as simple as just taking the attendance and making sure that, hey, every week, who are the people coming? So you have the leader, you have the co-leader. There's also another person that does the social activities. Okay, so he'll plan. Okay, once a month we'll do this. Okay, and then there's another person that does icebreakers in that small group. So I may be leading the actual materials, but you will be in charge of the icebreaker. So when you start off the first 10 minutes of a small group, you do something that will really get people excited and feel integrated. So almost literally everyone had a role to play in one way or another. So we need to empower them to serve. Now they may not see in the entire light of church life and Christianity and all that, but if we can empower them just to serve in small little ways, that is a huge step. So next one, to grow. Okay, we need to empower them to grow. So they need to see growth. This is also something that we struggle with. I struggle with in our family cell. They come, they commit to, let's say, each time they come in the recent times, let's say each curriculum is, let's say 8 weeks. So we do 1 week per month. Okay, because we can't, it's very difficult to do once every week, with children. So we say 1 month, 1 week, 1 session, sorry. So 8 sessions literally translates to 8 months. Okay, and then in between we try maybe some outings or whatever, but 8 months. After 8 months, we're all happy, we celebrate, and then we say, okay, let's commit to another 6 session small group curriculum. And same thing, 1 month, 1 session, so another 6 months. Now, this keeps going. So while we are focused on the fact that, hey, are people attending? But we forgot the bigger picture. Are they growing? It's one thing for them to attend. Everybody says, oh, that's good. Wow, everybody's attending. This session is very good. We can relate to them. We have built up friendships. It's relevant. We're talking about parenting. We're talking about the threats of this world, the trends and whatever. They enjoy it. We're even talking about how we need to be better, parents or whatever. It's relevant. But we maybe, whether intentionally or not, shy a little bit away from the last part, the religious part, which is to empower, to challenge the members to grow in their faith, in their mission, in their discipleship. And I think that's the part that we need, in my opinion, this is the part that we need to do really, really well in Jurong Church. Again, it may not speak for everyone, but I feel this is the part where we really need to challenge. But we need to challenge at the right time. You know, you don't have the first person that steps into a small group the first day and the next day he says, hey, be part of Bible study, then I hear you 5 weeks later you get baptized, baptized already, then this, then the guy will get, you know what, I'm out. All right. Third one, multiply. When there is growth, as in I'm not talking about numbers, but when people see growth, you see growth in yourself, you are growing. You see growth in your friends, your members, or even seekers. When there is growth, it's just like school, academic, whether you like it or not, when you see growth from primary 1 to PSL, you pass, you go to Sec 1, O level, then you go to either Poly or A level, there is progression. When you see growth, okay, you can measure it, it spurs you on, it keeps you going, keeps you focused. This is the same thing. When there is growth, when you see yourself growing, when you see other people growing, then the people will come. The members will come. God will send these people to us. And then the groups will multiply. And I think Mr. Ching also was talking about it yesterday. So different models out there. You know, some models just say that, oh, you need to have a lot of people before, 20 people before it split. I think, you know, that's not really the key concern. I think when it's time to split, we will know. Key thing is that is our small group a healthy small group? Okay. If it is a healthy small group, we will be able to, we would have already empowered them to serve, to grow, and to multiply. And the last kind of like statement is, for the church to grow bigger, it must get smaller. What does that mean? For the church to grow in membership, in numbers, our small groups needs to get smaller in the sense that we can relate, we know everyone, we are able to be intimate in our needs and in addressing one another's life challenges. And when that happens, the Spirit will bless, the numbers will come, the people will come, the groups will multiply. Okay, we don't have to be worried about whether it's one become two become four, or whatever. It could be just, it might take a while. It doesn't matter. I think it's not, focusing on the numbers that makes the difference. It's focusing on the health, our internal health. We need to empower everyone to be able to make that difference. Okay, so is there one more slide? I can't remember. Yes, okay. So with that, very quickly, I know we're coming we're coming up to about exactly 10:30. So we just do this very quickly. Now, what are specific and practical ways to empower your members? And I had another question previously before, but that basically is to help you to think, based on the members, the lukewarm members that you have, what stage are you at with them? Are you able to relate to them, or you're not even there yet? Are you able to address some of the relevant needs? If somebody is always very bad in the grades, okay, say secondary school, very bad in math, are you going to say, oh yeah, I'll pray for you, good luck, do better, okay? Or you know somebody who's a brilliant math whiz, and you say, hey, can you spend some time, maybe just once a week, 2 hours, 1 hour, just help to coach and help him, all right? So are you at that stage? Or perhaps you've already done that very well, you're already at a stage where you are really sharing heart to heart, you're very, very close, but you're not challenging that person a bit more. Okay, so that was the premise of the exercise number 3. So number 4 will then mean that what are the specific and practical ways to empower your members? Okay, so let's quickly spend the next couple of minutes. Okay, then we'll wrap up. Then we'll wrap up the entire session based on that. Okay, so last but not, let's do that right now. The next 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, what are the specific and practical ways to empower your members? Okay, let's go. Okay, so look into your cell group now. Look at the current composition and the members. Are they empowered in one way or another? Are they serving in the first place in small little ways? Don't think about huge, things that you're expecting. growth? Is the environment, is like what Pastor Egan said, is there a process in place that helps them to grow? And of course, multiply, it will come naturally after that, but the idea is, are we already empowering the people, the members in our cell group? So after the 5 minutes, we'll do a quick sharing. We'll wrap up with prayer, and then it'll be just nice, I think, for the tea break. Okay, I'm just going to randomly ask a few as you're working on it so that we can wrap up. The other group is here. Anyone like to share? Just one or two inputs and then we'll close. Anyone? Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Aaron, would you like to share? Or this group? No? Oh, okay. Over there. We'll come back.
Okay, I think
Coming on.
one thing that practical ways to empower members, I don't know, it's somehow related to that.
Yeah.
Because if some of them do not attend church, right, or we haven't seen them in a while, maybe check up on them, just give them a message and see how they are doing,
Yep.
and whatever things that we can help them with.
Nope.
And I think that will be one way of connecting with them and somehow would encourage them to, to come and come back to church, or, join whatever activity that we have with them.
Yeah, thank
One
you.
way of connecting with them.
Correct, and I think that's exactly right. The very first step, how do you connect relationally, and whether is there someone who is either very close to that person or maybe someone within the small group that could help to do that, just purely more as some kind of a responsibility. Okay, anyone? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a few ways that we thought of is, first is having, giving them goals that's part of our vision to individual members. So like when we give them goals, we are trusting them with specific roles in the group, and then like giving them like a responsibility to serve. So when they serve, they find God when they're serving.
Yep.
Yeah, and that will actually help to empower them.
Yep.
And also it's like showing them that we are trusting them and we care about them, And another thing is like having personal conversations with them, trying to get them to know them more, what they're going through, and helping to understand them, which helps them to realize that we also trying to know them and try to help them also in a way, and might help to change their mind or improve their mindset to serve and grow. Yeah. So that's some of it.
Thank you. I think one thing you mentioned is very, very valid also is the word trust. We need to, as we empower them, we need to know that they need to know that we are trusting them. Now, it doesn't mean that one shot everything 100% let go, but they need to know that we're trusting them, we're empowering them. Okay. Anyone? We do one last one? I'm looking at you. No? No one? David? Yes.
I think for the youth, we thought of maybe giving them opportunities to serve in areas that they're interested in. For example, even though the youth are not baptized, but they're interested in singing, then maybe get them in the worship team to start leading, start serving. And maybe by trusting them, by getting them to be a bit more committed, then hopefully they'll start growing from that, and maybe through that experience they'll start to experience God.
Okay, great. In fact, for the youth, I think it's even more important that you engage them and get them to really serve and be part of to feel that they're part of the church. Any other comments? Any other thing before we wrap up? We'll wrap up in prayer. Anyone? If not, I think basically the last slide is just a simple one that says that doing life together. I think ultimately that's the essence of it. The essence of it all is doing life together in small groups. When we do life together, when we share and we support, and when we overcome obstacles and struggles together, then you will feel really close, you feel engaged, you feel empowered, and like what we said, you'll be committed to the cause. But at the end of it all, I just want to remind everyone this topic about firing up lukewarm members. We can say and do whatever that we talk about here, but ultimately we need to submit everything into prayer, because it's only the Holy Spirit that will convict. It is only God that can make that change. But we need to truly first start with ourselves, start with the leaders, commit to prayer, commit our lives, and then we will effectively God will work with us on that. So let's just have a quick word of prayer before we break for the tea break. Dear Jesus, we just want to thank you for this session about firing up lukewarm members. We know that it is not an easy topic. It is the essence of Christianity, of how we can reach out to the people around us, using your method, the Jesus method, of relating to them and being able to address their relevant life needs, and then ultimately challenging them on the spiritual and eternal perspective, Lord. So we ask that each one of us will start with ourselves first, that we will truly be passionate, that we will make the effort to be on top, on top of our games, to be connected to you, to be aligned with you. That when we go out and share the vision and the purpose of small groups, that we ourselves are on fire, and that fire will be contagious, and the members and the seekers that see us will see the reflection of Christ in all that we do and all that we say. Once again, we thank you, Lord, and we entrust all this into your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.